Hello, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch break. Now we will go ahead and get started with our student panel. We have one of our COF students facilitating this discussion, who is Finn, and we have a couple of other COF students as well as students from various community colleges across the state. I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. But Finn, you could go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Awesome. Thank you, Symphony. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Finn Seha, and I am a student at Modesto Junior College. I'm also a member of the COF Coalition, and I'm here today to introduce our student panel. We have four student partners with us today who are all part of tobacco prevention programs, and they're all working within the advocacy system here in California. They are here today to give us a bit more insight and perspective about tobacco use through a student perspective or through a student lens. So I'll have each panelist introduce themselves. So you'll say your name, what college you attend, what year you're in, and how long you've been involved in tobacco prevention initiatives.
Okay, I can start. My name is Calvin. I am a second year biosci major at the University of California, Irvine, and I've been involved in tobacco prevention. I really got involved in seventh grade, but I didn't really pick it up until senior year of high school. So yeah, I'm also a member of the COF board.
Thank you. My name is Hannah. I'm a freshman currently, majoring in computer science at the LA Pierce College. I've been working actively in tobacco prevention since the beginning of this year, but I've always been interested in it and passionate about it. Currently, I'm an intern at the Breathe Initiative Coalition.
Hi, my name is Marcelo Cabrera. I attend Pierce College, or Los Angeles Pierce College, and I am, well, technically this is the end of my third year, so I'll be transferring soon. Um, and then I started with the Breathe Initiative Coalition just this semester, but I've volunteered and worked with them before the past 2 semesters.
Hi, my name is Hanadi. I'm a fourth year undergrad student at San Francisco State University. I'm also part of the COF and CYAN coalition, and I became involved in tobacco prevention as my third year transferred with the health promotion and wellness in campus, and that's how everything started.
Awesome. Thank you all. So like Symphony said, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A, but we do have some questions ready for the student panelists, so I'll go ahead and begin with those, and if I see anything pop up in the chat, then I will add those to the list. So was there a reason why you got involved in tobacco prevention work? Something specific like a personal experience, community health, or anything of the sort?
Well, for me personally, I have a personal connection to it because growing up, it was considered almost abnormal to not smoke. Everyone around me smoked. I grew up in a community where it was very normal. My family smoked, and I've lost people from first and secondhand smoke. I've had health issues myself. I used to be a smoker. I used to be a person who smoked, so it's very personal to me now that I've quit and I've been I've quit for like 2 years now. I think it's very important for colleges to be smoke free, especially since we're still very young, we're still developing, and I think it's very important.
I personally became involved in tobacco prevention, primarily due to a combination of personal experience and a passion for community health. Um, so witnessing the detrimental effects of tobacco on my parents, well, my dad, he's a smoker, in like impulse me to take action. And yeah.
For me, it's a collective of things. So one, I was kind of thrown into it. In seventh grade, I specifically remember in my leadership class, I was a part of Fast JV. And as like leadership students, we were all automatically enrolled into the program. And as I kind of like grew up and got a little more familiarity with the program and stuff like that, I had truly developed a passion for tobacco advocacy. And also in high school, I discovered like a interest in the healthcare field specifically, and like how the effects of tobacco use really tie into that kind of public health realm and everything like that. So that's personally what piqued my interest with tobacco advocacy. It also had to do with like people in high school and more so in college now too, seeing the smoking culture like truly have an impact and like be almost everywhere that you see and like so normalized. It really motivated me to get involved.
So I first started getting involved because, well, I first started smoking in seventh grade, which is like a lot of people are like, "Oh my God." But where I was, it was pretty normal. You know, a lot of kids were doing it. And it wasn't like vapes because that wasn't a thing yet. It was like actual cigarettes, like black and milds. Um, so I kind of got used to it, and then I'm also a student athlete, so I started feeling those shortness of breath, those struggles. I feel like catching up. Um, so as soon as I got out of high school, I was like, I really need to cut down. I can't just be using this to get away from my problems. And then since then, I've been trying to quit, and it always gets so hard because there's so many people around that openly do it, regardless of how you're feeling about it. That like at the time I still had a lot of friends who smoked, so it was hard for me to really distance myself from the problem. But finally did it. I started like at the yeah right at New Year's actually of this year until today. So making continuous progress this long is kind of like impressive for me. And then like I said, I did previous work with Breathe Initiative Coalition. I've met with them, I've talked with them, talked about what I've been through, and they're letting me know it's not like a we hate smokers or anything. It's more the idea of we want to make sure there's a clean space for students that can focus on their academics. They don't have to worry about health factors, any other concerns, any distractions while they're studying, because that's the whole point of a college campus.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I'm going to circle back to Christine for an intro. So if you could say your name, your college, what year you're in, how long you've been involved in tobacco prevention, and if you'd like to answer the first question, if there was a specific reason why you joined tobacco prevention work.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you all. I'm so sorry about that. My laptop's mic wasn't working, so I had to switch to my phone really quick. But it's great to meet you all. My name is Christine Gomez. I actually graduated from West Hills a long time ago. I was applying for the physical therapy program at Fresno State, so I had to retake some prerequisites, which caused me to go back to community college. And I did it for about 4 years. And it was such a great experience. I definitely had to go out of my comfort zone, for advocating and approaching students and teachers. And I learned a lot. Some of my mentors or people I worked with are also in this chat, Angelica and Dulce. And they taught me a lot. And it was really exciting because we actually got a smoke and tobacco free policy implemented on all West Hills campuses in the district, which was really, really exciting. So I think what really brought me to start advocacy was not only was I trying to build up my resume, but mainly because I grew up with family members who smoked and I saw how troubling it was for them growing up, and I never knew how to help them. I just knew it was bad. And so getting educated on it and being able to provide resources to people who don't know what outlets they can turn to be able to help them quit was very helpful, in a sense that I could help people all throughout the valley, and not only that, but my family members who struggled with it. So it's been a really great experience, and that's kind of what got me involved into it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'll move on to our second question. What have you found most enjoyable about your work in smoke and tobacco-free advocacy?
All right, well, I'll go. So me personally, those who know me are like, oh my God, you love networking, you love talking to people. I like meeting people. I wouldn't say I'm like proactive in the sense, but it's really forced me to go out of my comfort zone, talk with different groups on campus, talk to students that I don't really know. Um, Basically just establish a connection. And well, I guess this is more like the emotional benefits for me, but I honestly feel better trying to help other people that are in the same situation that I was in, or like even if they're not trying to quit, just let them know like, hey man, this stuff eventually catches up. You know, you got to be careful. Even if you're not gonna stop now, you might as well start slowing down and like be respectful of other people on campus. Um, Sorry, I'm in an open space at the school right now, so it's a little noisy. Um, but aside from that, you'll learn a lot more about the intensity or the severity of smoking in public spaces and how it can affect students. Um, there's a lot of statistics we've heard that I honestly would have never known otherwise, like the 82 feet travel distance for smoke. These are not things anyone else would really tell you, because the main way it's been taught to me at least has been through things like the DARE program, where it's more like if you smoke, you're gonna get cancer, and it's just trying to in a way put the fear of God into you or something very drastic. And it's not that it won't happen at some point, but at least the relatability of it to other students, I think is it feels good to be able to help other people in that way.
Well, for me, the most enjoyable part is seeing other people's opinions and experiences. So a lot of time I work on campus to educate others, and I have people that smoke. They come over to our station and they're like what Marcelo said, they think we hate them because they smoke. And it's really not about that. And then we get to talk about it, what led them to smoking. Usually there was a specific event that had them start smoking. It wasn't just out of nowhere. And so seeing people's experiences and the root cause of why a lot of people smoke, I think that's really eye-opening and very interesting to me.
What I found most enjoyable about my work in tobacco prevention advocacy is the sense of purpose it brings. Knowing that I'm contributing to like efforts that promote healthier communities and improve people's lives, it's like incredibly fulfilling. I do enjoy like the opportunity to collaborate with diverse groups as well, um, who share like the common goals, like the teamwork and within the advocacy community. It's also something that I do enjoy, especially being here with COF as well. It makes the work both more enjoyable and rewarding, and witnessing the positive impact of our advocacy efforts, whether it's through policy changes, increase awareness, through improve access to different resources, fuels my passion for the cause and also motivates me to continue advocating for change.
I would agree. It's very rewarding, knowing that we're making a difference in people's lives. But I think what was most exciting for me experiencing all of this, being a student intern for the American Cancer Society, would be that there's so many more opportunities to be involved in, especially like how someone else mentioned networking. I loved being involved so much that even though we're done advocating for tobacco-free campuses, I got involved with being a legislative ambassador. And so then I helped advocated for cancer action days for childhood cancer. And so it's just amazing that there's so many opportunities that programs like these have to offer, because you can make a difference in so many different areas all around the US. And it's really exciting to know that there's always something that you could help in and be part of.
For me, I would say the most enjoyable part is just meeting different people from all the different coalitions and that I've been a part of and everything like that. Like I've met so many great friends and I've been able to grow so many amazing connections with people. Just that alone is just such a rewarding and amazing experience, because you're able to meet you're able to meet like-minded people and truly educate one another and just work together to provide this sense of community service. That's another thing I find enjoyable about being involved in tobacco advocacy, is just that sense of community service. Like when in high school, for example, when I would go and attend tabling events and just interacting with elementary students, and I don't know, just that sense of knowing that you're making such a difference, that especially to a young adult at such a young age, is just so rewarding. And even now in college, I work as a resident advisor, knowing that I'm making an impact in providing resources for college students who do smoke or want to quit, and kind of guiding them to where they can go for additional resources has just been a rewarding thing overall as well. So whether that's in the form of bulletin boards, messages, like hall events and stuff like that, that's just something I really, truly enjoy doing, is those acts of service.
So you all mentioned something or another about your peers and the people that you're currently going to school with. Do you feel that your peers are interested in tobacco issues? And if so, why? If not, why not?
I think they weren't as interested until I started talking to them about it. I do have some peers that smoke, so when they found out what I was working in a part of, they started questioning me about it, and I would just tell them some information that I knew, some of like the predatory practices big tobacco uses, because that was a big part of my research. And they definitely, I think they're more interested now, and they see how corrupt big tobacco can be, and it definitely, I feel like it repels them away from wanting to smoke, and it encourages them, because most of them already want to quit, it encourages them to actually take the actions and take the steps to quit.
I feel like, at least for my peers, I'll consider like my peers basically anyone on campus. I think it really is a mix, and there are a lot of people that are willing to listen because they actually want to make the change, or they already don't smoke and they don't like the smell of it. You know, there's a lot of different factors that go into why people would already support it to begin with. And then there's people who definitively do not care. These are people who they vape and they're like, oh, it's not as bad as cigarettes, or they smoke weed and they're like, it's not the same, you know, it's not nicotine. Um, and those people are a lot harder to talk with about sometimes, but I feel like, at least for me, I can relate with them the most because I was a heavy, like I smoked a lot. So I always tell them like, hey, I understand like what you're doing, you know, I probably was worse than you at the moment, you know, like it's difficult, but there really isn't any benefits to what you're doing besides you feel better for like half an hour, 10 minutes, and then everything goes back to normal. So the trade-off there is not what it's worth, especially because it's not just you're affecting other people nearby. So I think, at least for me, it's a little easier to drag people from like the I don't want to talk about it to I'm willing to hear you out. Um, but there definitively is a mix on campus.
I totally agree with you. I think the level of interest among my peers in tobacco issues varies. Um, while some may be actively engaged and passionate about tobacco prevention, others may not prioritize it as a significant concern. Um, and maybe there are some factors, we never know if there are such as like personal experiences or cultural backgrounds or different awareness levels that can influence individuals as well as like interest in these issues. So
I think in the Central Valley, for my peers that I spoke with when I was like conducting surveys, since the colleges were open or the community colleges were opened, the smoke and tobacco free policy was never implemented. So I think when I started to go up to students and ask them surveys about if it bothered them or not, they were like, oh, like they didn't realize, because I think it was the norm for so long. And so they were like, oh, you know what, this actually does bother me. So actually, surprisingly for me in my area, a lot of students were bothered by it. They just thought it was normal. There were some teachers and staff who they did it regularly, and so they expressed that it was because they were, stressed, and it was something that they needed to do. And I kindly told them that, well, we understand it's not easy and it's definitely hard to do, and so here's some information. And so as far as peers though, and everyone on campus, it was majority were actually bothered. So
Yeah, I feel like for my peers, it's a 50-50 mix. And I truly believe that it depends on what demographic you're in terms of age and stuff like that. Like, for example, speaking from my personal college experience, freshmen and sophomores, they just entered college. They want to enjoy the college experience. The smoking culture is so normalized here, especially so early on, compared to where you're as in your third and fourth years, you're working in your upper division classes, and stuff. You're not really too involved in that kind of stuff, or like if you have been, it's already kind of too late and they only care when you get hooked because nicotine is so addictive. So I would say like my peers do care, in the sense that my peers care because they know they're hooked and they want to get off. But in the sense of like, I would say like overall like care towards the problem, I would say for my campus, most students don't really see it as an issue. It's just been so normalized. And yeah, that's just speaking from personal experience.
Is there anything that you think would get students more involved in tobacco prevention advocacy, or any specific barriers that you've identified or recognized that are keeping these students from getting more involved?
Well, I'd say one big thing to account for is I think this is kind of like a running theme for anyone that's like past like middle school, or like even in middle school to like late 20s. People don't like being told what to do. Like you can't just be like, hey, don't do that. Because most people are gonna be like, why should I care what you say? Um, I think I know that our coalition's been doing a really good job on like changing the narrative so that it's not an aggressive statement. It's not that we hate you, it's a compassionate thing of we just want you to be healthy. We want other people around you to be healthy. This is for like just the best interest of everyone. It's not that we hold anything against you, but like, we're not saying you can't smoke either, but we would much rather that is not the norm and happening on campus, because you're in a closed space with so many other people who don't even have a choice if you're going to smoke or not. I'd say the biggest difficulty though is getting to those groups where because obviously everyone forms like little cliques, it's still school. And when you find a group of people where all of them smoke and they think it's cool and it's fun and that's what their group identity is based off of, those are usually the hardest people to reach, because I've seen so many friendships based solely on the fact that they smoke. So, you can't reach everyone 100% of the time, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try.
I think I'm sorry, could you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, no worries. So, is there anything you think would get students more involved or could get students more involved in tobacco prevention advocacy, or any specific barriers you've identified that are keeping students from getting involved?
Yes. Oh, okay. So, I think definitely reaching out to students through email. As a student myself, like we're constantly checking our email, and I think reaching out to students via email or posters, being more awareness of opportunities like this. I think one thing that might prevent them from doing it would be like scheduling. Everybody has a different schedule. Some people have families, some people work too. And so I think something that's really flexible would be best. And that's why I'm grateful for the opportunity I had, because I would be gone all day from school, but I would be able to do something toward what I was going to do um, like that evening, and then do a table setup the next day. It was really flexible. And I think that's what allowed me to be involved while still having a hectic schedule. So being flexible and also reaching out to students on campus.
I definitely agree. I think the best way to reach out to peers and to have them participate is definitely education and hosting events. I feel that a lot of people like to participate when you host events in person. The last time we did that was on Earth Day, which was like a week or two ago. And it was really fun to see everyone get together. And we made little seed bombs. So it's just a bunch of seeds with some like compost. And while we were doing that, we were educating them about our smoke-free policies and what we're trying to change. And I think that had people interested and they wanted to learn more. So in-person events for sure, and then like empowerment as well, just showing them that we can be healthier, we can live an active, healthy lifestyle if our campus was smoke-free.
I totally agree with Hannah and Christine. I think that providing opportunities for like hands-on involvement, education, and leadership development can inspire the students, including me, because when I first transferred to SF State, I was not aware of the different resources around campus until I saw a tabling of the like free tobacco cessation groups and stuff like that. And I it inspire us to take action. So fostering a supportive and inclusive environment also, where like diverse participation from a broader range of students can also help getting more students interested and involved in tobacco prevention work.
I feel like the best way to draw people in and to join these tobacco coalitions and everything like that is to showcase that I don't know about everyone else, but I know like people care about their college applications, people care about their resumes, people care about building that professional experience, showcasing that this is a great way to get that experience and like explore the realm of public health. And in terms of like getting more people to also join, I know tabling events have been always very successful. People love free stuff, and people just genuinely will interact with things that are accessible on campus, specifically with my college campus and everything like that. they have so many different events that happen, and you'll see a good amount of people come to those events because of the incentives offered. And I think that's a great way to draw people in. And in terms of people like gaining those resources and everything like that, I definitely feel like there's a lack of accessibility on college campuses to a certain extent. I know for my campus in particular, don't quote me on this, but I know like everyone knows that the student health center is the place to go if there's anything that you need to kind of receive in terms of your wellness or mental well-being or whatever it may be, any type of health related issue. So probably like distributing that more often and making certain how do I say this? Certain succession opportunities more accessible on campus, to the point where students who commute or students who are in different locations or further locations from the health center, for example, can receive aid if they ever need to, whether it's like specific succession products or counseling or whatever it may be. Just providing that accessibility, I think, is very important.
Awesome. And we are going to jump to a Q&A question. So the question is, what would you say to a youth who is on the fence of joining a coalition? What have you gained since you're joining?
I personally say just do it. It can't hurt, you know. You can try it out for a year, you can try it out. I feel like most coalitions are very understanding. They're not really binding either. So it's like, you know, if you feel like it's not your fit, you can always, you know, leave, but give it a shot. You know, the opportunities that you don't take are the ones that you don't know, you know. So at least exploring the realm, especially if you're on the fence about it, clearly it'll pique, like, if you're on the fence about it, it already piques your interest. So why not kind of explore further into that interest, you know? So I just say do it, you know, try it out. It can't hurt. But that's my advice.
Yeah, I like to say all experience is good experience, and it isn't super binding for me as well. So if you ever don't like it, you can always just talk about it. It's very flexible and it's fun. Like I personally think it's actually really fun, and I've gained a lot out of it, not just experience, but information. I've networked a lot with people and I've gotten to know people. I go by on campus and I see people that I recognize when at the beginning of the semester I didn't really talk to anyone. So I think it's a very valuable thing to have, and it teaches you a lot of skills.
I would have to agree. I would say that you're gonna grow so much, like out of your comfort zone, socially. You're gonna learn a lot, and you're gonna build up your resume just all around. It's just such a great experience, and at the end of the day, like, you're making a difference and you're helping people, and you usually have people you can turn to if you have any questions at all. Like, I feel like within the American Cancer Society, I've been able to connect with people that have helped me practice even say speeches, or help me write together speeches if I didn't really know what to formulate or what to say exactly. And I'm really grateful for that, because I've been able to practice, and I've been able to practice socially, and well, it doesn't seem like it right now, but but yeah, like you grow a lot and you gain a lot of experience, and people are really helpful. So yeah.
I have to agree with that. It it can be incredibly rewarding experience of like it will offer you the opportunity to make a meaningful impact on your community and beyond. So with me, since I've joined COF and the health promotion and wellness, I've gained so much more than I expected. Not only have I developed valuable leadership skills and expanded my knowledge about tobacco prevention, but I've also forge lasting connections with fellow advocates who also inspires me and support me every step of the way. So you'll get a really good experience out of it.
Yeah, I think what everyone else said before me, amazing points. I think these are really the driving impacts that you can have on like an individual. So any person who's hesitating on joining it or considering it, you might as well do it because if what is the downside of joining? Like everyone said, it's flexible. They'll work with you. They're very lenient on like what you can do, what you feel comfortable doing. Um, there's just regardless, they'll always be accommodable, understanding that you're a college student, or even if you're not a student, that you're just a person with their own life. And aside from that, you make friends, you meet people who are interested in the same things, you meet people when you're reaching out to spread the idea, you you have that support line that you can reach out if you have questions, if you don't understand something. And even if it's not directly related to the specific task you've been given to, even if it's just general questions about like, what is the statistic on this, or what is some of the data on that? Or you could even ask them, what is your personal experience? What got you interested? Having these access points, I think, are really pivotal to letting people learn how they feel about things and learn how to express themselves. Because if you don't allow yourself to be exposed to it and you're only on the outside, it'll never really feel like an actual experience. That's my mindset on it. Aside from that, it looks good on transcripts probably. And I don't know, like if you happen to make a change in your community, you could probably note down, we made our campus smoke free. We made this section of the community smoke free. If you Even if it's not a huge accomplishment, you still will be making accomplishments. And I think people need to be told of the potential impact that they really can have.
Awesome. Thank you all. Do you think tobacco and marijuana use is an issue on your campus? And if so, what types of products are you seeing used around campus?
I think it's definitely an issue, both tobacco and cannabis products. I'm seeing the majority of people, students at my school, they are vaping or using marijuana, and the staff are using cigarettes, which is what I've seen. I've looked, and we have a smoking designated area in the parking lot, and I see tons of cigarettes littered on the floor. And I believe there's a staff lobby near that area, and there's a lot of cigarettes around there too. But definitely for students, the biggest issue is like vapes and e-cigarettes, which I've also seen littered around campus.
Yeah, in my case, I've also have observed students using tobacco and marijuana or cannabis products on campus, although the frequency may vary. Uh like some individual may use these products openly, others just do it more discreetly. But there is a frequency where they're just walking around campus smoking without knowing that we have policies that prohibits smoking around campus.
I would say for students, it would be cigarettes and vaping. And then for staff, it was mainly cigarettes. And there was supposed to be like a distance between the building that people weren't supposed to be smoking, but people were still smoking like right by doors and stuff and like in the parking lots. And so, yeah, I think those two main things were what I saw when people would smoke.
Yeah, I mean, like the three said before me, it seems like it's really all three are a recurring problem on campuses. It's cigarettes, it's vapes, and it's marijuana. Um, Honestly, as much as I want to agree with her, I would have to disagree with Christine on the idea, or I'm sorry, with Hannity about like they don't know about it, because I think they do. I do think they know about the regulations about no smoking. They just do not care. Um, because I've talked to some of those people because I'm like, hey man, like, well, at least me who used to do it, I can tell regardless of them trying to be subtle, I know what it looks like. I've done it before. Like I'm pretty good at identifying it. So I'm just like, hey man, like what are you doing? And it seems like a lot of people really just blatantly are just like, I'm just doing my thing, like I'm not making anyone else do it. Um, even though technically someone's gonna breathe it in. And then there is the problem of faculty doing it too, because our campus has two designated smoking spots, but I see faculty not even go to either one of those. They'll step out of the building that they're working in and go to the open area right next door to it and smoke a cigarette there. Which I understand it's the ease, like you're technically outside, you're not in the building, but that's you are one 15-step staircase away from students.
Yeah, sorry I have my camera off. I'm walking to the library right now. But basically, I would agree, like it is a prominent issue on campus, specifically with vaping and cannabis. It's just such a normalized thing, it's such a huge part of Greek culture, especially. Um, I agree with Marcelo, like people are aware of the rules, especially with UCI being like 100% smoke and tobacco free. It's just that they don't care. And it really lies within to like with, for example, resident advisors and faculty to kind of like take that responsibility to enforce those policies. I know specifically with housing and stuff like that in my residence, like it's not tolerated in my hall, and we're as RAs we're supposed to write anything up that kind of occurs if we witness anything happening. So I will say it is a prominent issue, but it really depends on how good of an enforcement your college campus kind of has in terms of vaping and like smoking and marijuana use.
So we just talked about tobacco, cannabis, marijuana use as a campus-wide issue, but when it comes to your peers or close-knit group, people that you might be more familiar with, do you see them using these products as well? And if so, have you had conversations with these people about why they've started using them?
So I have some peers who don't smoke and some peers who do. And for my friends that do smoke, we have talked about it before, and more than likely they want to quit, and I've helped them get the resources. It's more of a cycle for them because it stems from usually some kind of hard trouble they've had in their life or stemmed from some childhood thing. So whenever their life, like they feel like it's getting hard, they pick up a cigarette because it's like the easy thing to do. But I feel like it's definitely a mental battle for them. So definitely like helping them is more than just like nicotine patches and stuff like that. I try to get them the resources like through the student health center. And yeah, and for those who don't smoke, I still try to give them some kind of resources because some of their families smoke. And I think it's very strong for them also to not smoke even though their family smokes, but they're still being affected by secondhand smoke.
Yeah, I'd say at least for like my direct friends, peers, like Hannah said, I also have a mix of people, like you'll always find people who do smoke, some people who don't smoke, and a lot of times you'll find people who don't openly smoke. Um, so I mean, I always like make sure to give respect to the people that don't openly smoke because at least they understand that other people don't want that directly at them or in front of them. Some people are uncomfortable with it. Some people don't want to inhale it. Whatever the case is. So with people who I know that do smoke, I always make sure to like mention like, hey man, these are resources I've gotten. I remember my coalition gave me these menthol toothpicks, which honestly helped a lot. So I try to give them like some of those whenever I get a chance. And like, hey man, like take some, like try and use them out, see how you feel about it. Because a lot of people that I know that smoke are people who have been smoking for more than like 2-3 years now. So it's hard to really get them to like quit. You know, no one can. It's not easy to just cut it off completely. So it's a slow process. You know, trying to walk them through it. Give them as many resources, people to talk to. Tell them like, hey, I understand. Like I'm doing the same thing right now. Still like cutting down. Like I know the process. And then with the people that don't smoke, it's just like acknowledging their feelings about it, respecting it, making them understand that it's not that they are valid in their feelings. And if they do have someone in their life that's affecting them with the smoking, like Hannah was saying, you know, we do try to give them some more information, try to give them some more resources. But if anything, like what I usually do is like I always tell people like I am jealous of you that like you are able to like avoid it completely. Um, but yeah, just like reassuring those ideas, I think is one of the best ways to talk with peers about it.
I totally agree with Marcelo and Hannah. I also talk openly with my friends about tobacco, especially when the topic arises naturally in conversation, or if there's a relevant opportunity to discuss it. I do think it's important to raise awareness about the risks associated with tobacco use, and to also provide information and resources available for those who may want to quit and learn more. Um, but for like peers or people that approach to us and have the or you know are willing to quit, I aim to like approach the conversation with empathy and understanding, recognizing that everyone's experience and perspectives are different. I also try to provide the resources that we have around campus, such as like helplines, support groups, or the different online tools for quitting smoking, as well as educational materials on the health effects of tobacco use, which I think it's really important.
For me directly, as I mentioned before, it would definitely be my aunt growing up. She has always off and on tried to quit, but always turned back to it. And after learning more about tobacco, I do understand and see that, you know, it's not an easy thing to do. And I think being involved with advocacy today has allowed me to give her resources like Kennedy mentioned, you know, the helplines, and you know there's apps available, and you know I remember someone mentioned to me that it was the motion of smoking that they realized that they were addicted to, and so something that they did to help them quit was, you know, start chewing on like ice chips, or you know, turning to like candy. And so I feel like things like that has definitely helped me raise awareness. And you know, it's definitely a mental thing, like Hannah mentioned earlier. I think that it's easier said than done. And so as long as we do what we can to provide the resources to people to in efforts to help, at the end of the day, it's something that, you know, they have to, you know, mentally like try to fight through, and it's really hard.
Yeah, my peers and I have had that conversation because I do have some that do smoke. And when they talk to me about it and stuff like that, they just like the feeling it gives them afterwards. And they usually do it whenever they go out to a party or a club, or sometimes whenever they're really stressed, specifically, like, you know, we're on the quarter system here. Midterms are happening like literally almost every week. You know, classes are condensed down so much, and like it doesn't help like the external factors, social factors, just like everything that comes into play, just like life in general. There's so many additional stresses that like cause my friends specifically to smoke. So like we've had those conversations and stuff, and I've been able to provide resources to some of them. But also like it has, I'd never like to pressure anyone either. Like I'll provide resources for people specifically, because I want them to have it, and I just think it's an amazing thing to do, just so that they know that you care if they ever want to quit. But it is like a tough journey to navigate because there are so many different factors that go into what caused them to smoke in the first place, and stuff like that. And yeah.
Do you think mental health impacts the likelihood of a student to begin using tobacco and cannabis products? Why or why not?
So as I mentioned, yeah, it definitely is a mental battle. I feel like it's an outlet for people, whether they're stressed or, you know, anything that they're dealing with internally. I feel like it becomes an outlet and forms into a habit. And so I do think mental health impacts the likelihood of someone turning to that.
I do agree with Christine. I feel like when us students face challenges with our mental health, often seek coping mechanisms to alleviate our symptoms or manage our different emotions. Unfortunately, for like some students, tobacco or cannabis use may be perceived as a way to self-medicate or temporarily escape from their difficulties.
Definitely. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm
I
sorry.
have,
You could go.
thank you. So I have a little bit of a personal anecdote. I used to go to therapy for stress management because I had very bad anxiety, and this was when I was smoking. And as I continued therapy, I would actively try to quit and I would wean off smoking because I know a lot of people use it to think that it gives them, like, it relieves their anxiety. But as Marcelo said, it's only going to give you like 30 minutes, 15 minutes of relief. And then your anxiety would actually probably get worse. So in the long term, it's definitely not worth it. Mentally, it could impact your mental health even more than the beginning before one would start smoking. So I think from the beginning, mental health is definitely plays a part, but with smoking, it can get worse. And just you have to weigh out the short term and the long term benefits.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone has said so far. Like mental health does play a certain role in why people do begin to smoke in the first place. Like I mentioned before in my earlier response, like there are so many external stresses that happen in people's lives that cause them to go to smoking and stuff like that. Specifically with like my residents, for example, I always like make sure to provide counseling service resources, and just with my friends too, like knowing that like if they can identify that root cause and stuff like that, and like that will help them like to lose that habit. I think that's just such a powerful thing. And knowing that those services are free for like all students on campus and accessible to all students, whether it's in person or on Zoom, I think is just such an important thing for a majority of the student population to know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna also go to a personal anecdote. So in high school, by this point, I was already like smoking cigarettes, vaping, and at that point, it was because I was really stressed all the time. I was angry, you know. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I was a student athlete. So around that time, I think it was in the middle of my junior year, I ended up like getting a severe injury to my hip. I couldn't do any sports anymore for the rest of high school. This was like a life destroying moment for me because I was focused on only going into sports and not really academics. Um, so I got depressed, I spiraled, I didn't know what to do, and I just turned to like smoking marijuana, smoking weed. Um, and that's pretty much how I spent my last 2 years of high school was just I didn't go to too many classes. Like I was really just like cutting classes to go smoke outside. And they just like mental health deteriorate the more it went down, the more often I was smoking. So obviously now that like I am recovering more, cutting down on like smoking, I can definitely feel like that scale tipping the other way now. Um, but yeah, so mental health is a huge influence on whether someone even picks it up. Um, I don't think it's the only influence, like especially if you have family that smokes, that's usually a pretty common one as well. Like if you're exposed to it at a young age or you're just used to seeing it around you. But poor mental health or just degraded mental health definitely does make someone more susceptible to start smoking or to be a chronic continuous smoker.
Awesome. Well, I think that was our last question for the student panelists. So thank you all for your time and your insight. It was valuable. We loved hearing all your responses and hearing a bit more about your experiences at your respective campuses. So thank you so much.